So good morning guys, or if you're watching this video at night or evening, good evening and good night. So today we'll do a rapid round of IMAT biology questions. So today we have 10 questions with us of biology from different sections of the syllabus. So I'd suggest that first of all you should pause the video for 15 seconds for each question and try to answer it. If not, then you can carry on with the video and see the explanation and understand the concepts. And if you are good enough and you have a good preparation, then you can answer it on your own and cross check the answer after the solution. So let's start. So we have a first question from the cell biology topic. So it says toxin prevents ribosome from attaching to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Which process would be most likely affected? So as I said earlier, pause the video. I hope you have done your role. So let's move on to the explanation of this example. Okay. So the question says if a toxin attaches to the rough endoplasmic reticulum uh, and prevents the adhesion of ribosomes to the surface of endoplasmic reticulum, then what will happen? So as we all know, RER, which is also rough endoplasmic reticulum, is responsible for the protein synthesis in the cell. And if the function of this RER is altered or disturbed, then the protein synthesis will not be properly work out. So if a toxin released in a cell by any how or by any means, then it will alter the protein synthesis. So option B should be the most appropriate answer. Or if in any other case there is written synthesis of secreted protein or formation of protein or secretion of protein or manufacturing of protein, then that could be also the right answer. So this was the first question. I hope you understand the concept behind it and learn the things that I have taught you in this question. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So here's the second question. It is from genetics. And I know that genetics is a topic that scares most of the students. Me as well, when I used to study for the IMAT, I was like, that's very hard to learn and understand. So, anyways, let's see this question. Let's do it. So, as usual, pause the video for 15 seconds and answer it. Let's go. So, this question says in a population, the frequency of allele capital A is 0.7, and the allele small a is 0.3. Assuming Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium or principle. Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium is very important topic. So if you don't know about it or you're not familiar with it, then you should definitely learn about this, because each year there is at least a single question from this topic. Okay, so move on. Let's move on. Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. What is the expected frequency of heterozygous individuals? So, in what is the Hardy-Weinberg equation? First of all, it is p square plus q square plus 2pq equals to p plus q whole q square. So, what is p and what is q and what is 2pq? Let's understand. Small p here is homozygous allele. Small q is also homozygous, and PQ are heterozygous. So these are the meaning of these terms here. So the question asked for the heterozygous individuals. So we'll put this small equation here, and the data that is given in the question. So here small p is capital A, small q is small a. So capital A is 0.7, small a is 0.3, and so let's put it into the equation. 2 into 0.7.3, which is 0.42. So here is the answer. Option number C will be our answer. So I hope you understand. And a very important thing is always P plus Q is equals to 1. So if in any question a value of P is given and they asked for the Q, then you should do the basic linear equation. So let's do an example. If in question P is 0.3 and Q is unknown, and we have to find the value of P through the Hardy-Weinberg principle, or someone will say that this allele, like X, capital X allele is 0.3 and small x is unknown, then you should find the value of small x allele. Okay, so it will be like 0.3 plus x is equals to 1, and if we do the basic maths, then it will be 0.7. So if question like this comes up anytime, then you should do this like okay. So we have question number 3. So let's move on to the question number 3, and it is quite interesting and the favorite topic of mine, human physiology. So the human physiology is a very good topic. So let's do this question. Question says, a patient has severely reduced insulin production. Which change is most likely to occur? So it is a quite good question, because if you have a look of the options, then they are not like pancreas is not working properly, or they have a insulin resistance, or these all basic options. So we have quite difficult or like complicated options here. So what should be our approach here is that we should know the mechanism of insulin production and how the pancreas work and how the beta and gamma cells supposed to work, or what are their principles, or what are their function and all. Okay, so you can also learn all these things from Cambridge AS or A level books, or you can also use Pearson biology. You can take the screenshot of this, or I can share the PDF in the description of this video. So what will be the explanation of this question is, so the insulin production is altered here. So the insulin is the key hormone that lowers the blood glucose, as we all know, and the glucagon is another hormone which regulates the blood glucose, not increase it. Increase in at some extent, but when the blood glucose becomes normal, then it became flatline, like it doesn't increase more. So that's glucagon. So we are here talking about insulin production. So the insulin promote glucose uptake into cell, okay, in muscle cell, or in normal cells, or in adipose tissue, all those tissues or cells. Okay, so it stimulates glycogen synthesis in the liver and muscle, and inhibited gluconeogenesis. So for people who don't know what is gluconeogenesis, gluconeogenesis. Let me explain it somewhere. Okay, so for the gluconeogenesis I have made another video, and I am taking the decision because if I explain the gluconeogenesis here, then the video will be very long. It's already 10 minutes, so let's move on with the explanation. So as I said earlier, the insulin stimulates the glycogen synthesis in liver and muscle cells, and it inhibits gluconeogenesis. So you should know what is gluconeogenesis. Okay, write this term on your notebook or anywhere else whenever you want, or you can also take a screenshot. Okay, so when the insulin is severely decreased or reduced, cells cannot take glucose or do the glycogen synthesis. So the consumption or the intake of glucose is reduced, and the synthesis of glycogen is also reduced because of it. And the synthesis of glucose, glycogen, and the intake of glucose in the cell is not being done by the insulin, then it will be hovering around in the blood stream, and eventually it will increase the blood sugar levels, and that what we call diabetes. So and if we have diabetes, then it will cause hyperglycemia, or also it is also a hallmark of diabetes mellitus. So options A, B, C, and E, they all describe effect of normal or increased insulin activity. But the option B properly goes with the question number third's properties. Okay, elevated blood glucose concentration. So that was a good question. Let's move on to the next question. Now question number 4. Okay, so it is from evolution. Evolution, you all know, and we all know, and we have been learning about it or listening about it at least from our childhood. So question number 4, pause the video and try it on your own. Okay, which observation provides the strongest evidence that two species share a common ancestor? Okay, so that is the question, and I should repeat it again. Which observation provides the strongest evidence that two species share a common ancestor? Okay, so what are the options? Option A, they occupy similar habitats. Option B, they have similar body size. Option C, they possess homologous structure. Option D, they consume similar foods. Option E, they live on the same continent. Okay, so if we try to explain it, then it should be like that homologous structures are anatomical features that we all know. Like homo means same, okay, and homologous mean from same ancestry. If we talk about the examples, human arm and whales flipper. Like flipper are like a whale. This is a whale. Okay, my drawing skill are not that good, and these are called flipper, from which they can swim. Okay, so this structural similarity reflects inheritance. Okay, from a shared ancestor, which is called homologous, as I described earlier. And this homologous property, or the structural similarity, reflects that it is a cornerstone of comparative anatomy evidence for evolution. Okay, so similar habitats like body size, diets, or geographical location can arise independently through convergent evolution and do not imply common ancestry. Okay, so the convergent evolution, you should also learn about it, like the gluconeogenesis. It is also a different topic. Convergent evolution. So, as I described, the answer should be option C. They possess homologous structure. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Okay, so it is from the molecular biology. Question number 5. Which nitrogenous base is present in RNA but not in DNA? So it is very straightforward a question, and the answer is uracil. You should memorize it, and it's quite famous question in IMAT also, and in other examinations like NEET in India or GEMSET, I would say. Or if you don't talk about GEMSET, AUS, the Australian Examination of Medicine, another examination around the world, MCAT also. It is quite famous question, and most of the students got confused. So, topic is ecology, and the question 6th. A sudden decline in a top predator population is most likely to cause. So, if you have learned about ecology, or if you know anything about ecology, then you should know that if there is a decline in a population of the top predator like lion, tiger, panther, etc., then there would be a surge in the population of the prey. Preys like buffalo, okay, cows, or hippos, everything that these top predators feed on. Okay, so if their population decrease, the population of their prey will increase, and it will disturb the whole food chain, and the resources for the prey, which are buffaloes, cows, hippos, deers, etc., the resources for them will run out, and these animals will fight each other for resources, for food and shelter, and their population will eventually decline, and the survival of the fittest will happen. So, what option is the most suitable according to the description that I have gave is option B, an increase in prey population. So, the main thing is around here, if the predators dies, then the prey will nurture and will dramatically increase in population, and after that the resources will decrease, and there will be a population after a population decrease after some time in praise. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Question number 7. So here it is from immunology. Question number 7. Vaccination protects against disease primarily because it. You should pause the video and answer. Okay. So as we all know, vaccines introduce antigens, okay, in our body, or they initiate the process of antigen production. Okay. So vaccine introduce antigens in our body to prime the adaptive immune system without causing disease. Okay, so vaccines do the similar work that a pathogen does in our body, but it does not cause any infection or any disease. So when antigen enters our body, the stimulation of the antigen specific B and T lymphocytes happen, and some of which differentiate into long lived memory cells, and upon subsequent exposure to the real pathogen, these memory cells mount on much faster and stronger secondary immune system, and typically clearing the infection before symptoms appear. So that's what vaccines do. And we can see, or we can notice the same thing with the COVID vaccination. That was the most recent example that we can have. So when we have the COVID vaccines, it releases the antigen in our body which do the same thing the virus of COVID-19 do, but it doesn't spread infection in our body. But there will be memory cells made for the COVID-19, and whenever the COVID hit our body, then our body will protect us, or our immune system will protect us from this disease. So that's how vaccines work, and that's what real vaccine is. So the answer should be option number C. Let's move on to the third last question, question number 8, and it is from genetics again. A man with blood group AB and a woman with blood group O have children. Which blood groups are possible in their offspring? So it is quite interesting question. It is not that hard and not that easy. You should know how to predict the possible outcomes in the offspring. So we can do it like this. The antigen of A is IA and B is IB, and the AB blood group have IA and IB, and the blood group A positive, or if we are talking about A or B, IA, and the B will have IB, and the O will have small I. Okay, so if a woman have blood group of O, then there can be two possibilities, either II or IA or IB. And the man has blood group of IA and IB. So let's make a Punnett square kind of table. So we have IA, IB. So according to this square, or according to this table, we can see we have four possibilities: IAI, again, IBI, and IBI. Okay, so The children cannot be of blood group AB because mother do not have an A or B, and the child cannot be of proper O group because the father don't have any O group allele or small I allele to contribute into the O blood group. So only blood group A and B are possible in the in the okay. So question number 8 says a man with blood group AB and a woman with blood group O have a children. Okay. Which blood groups are possible in their offspring? So man's allele would be or his gamete have IA and IB blood group alleles, and the female will have II because she is O, and O always have O blood group always have two eyes because it is a recessive allele and it only show up when it is homozygous, and the male have IA and IB. So blood group AB means the father's genotype is IA and IB, and the mother's genotype is I and I. So blood group AB is not possible as mother don't have a gamete IA or IB. Sorry, in her gamete IA or IB. And O is also not possible because the father cannot contribute an I allele. As I said earlier, O group only show up when there is homozygous recessive allele. So the only blood groups are possible is A and B in their children. So the option C would be the correct answer. Let's move on to the next question. Second last question of today. It is plant biology. So question number 9. You should pause the video and do the answer. Okay. During photosynthesis, oxygen released into the atmosphere originates from. It is a straightforward question and also have a straightforward answer. What should be the answer? C. Water. Let me explain it to you. When the oxygen released during the photosynthesis, it comes from the photolysis of water molecule in the thylakoid membrane during the light dependent reaction. So H2O breaks into H2 and O2. So this oxygen dispersed from this H2O during light reaction in thylakoid. So the correct answer is C. So the last question of today is from again physiology. Question number 10 says which blood vessel carries oxygenated blood away from the lungs to the heart? So here most of the students get confused as many people think that oxygenated blood is only carried by arteries and the deoxygenated blood is only carried by veins, but that's not true. Deoxygenated blood is also carried by an artery called pulmonary artery. And this pulmonary artery takes the blood from heart to lungs, and their lungs oxygenate this blood, and this oxygenated blood gets to the heart again in the left atrium through pulmonary vein. So the basic structure to remember or memorize this concept is that arteries always take blood away from the heart and the veins always take blood towards the heart. So pulmonary artery takes blood away from the heart. Pulmonary artery takes deoxygenated blood away from the heart to the lungs, and from lungs the pulmonary vein takes the oxygenated blood to the heart into the left atrium, and from there to the left ventricle, and from there to the whole body. So the correct answer should be A option. My bad, not A option. The question asked for lungs to heart, so the answer should be D option. So that is for today, and we have our answer key also. You can check it out here, and we also have explanation here. I will share this PDF in the description of this video. Hope you like it, and share your suggestions for the next videos in the comment box, and we will also get you more tests or more questions on our website where you can buy it or also do it for free. So all the best for your IMAT examination. Thanks a lot.